This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Baruch haba, welcome everyone. Bruchim habayim, Agun Erev Shabbos. The first segment I want to share with you some really electrifying Divrei Torah on the Parsha, but I want you to be able to see it inside and get them every week. So we're going to try this one more time. Last week this was a very successful medium of getting people to be able to receive these Divrei Torah. So I'm going to take you now to the new website, and I'm going to show you how to subscribe so that you could physically receive these Divrei Torah every Friday. We're going now to the new website, rabbidg.com. Here it is. So while you're here, I want you to know about this. Anytime there's a live shiur, you go to the website and you scroll down and you go to Zoom, watch live. And if you click over here, you'll immediately be on our Zoom share. So you don't have to remember any numbers, you don't have to remember any codes, you just go straight there. If you want to sign up to any of the WhatsApp groups, the Parsha Shiurim, Parsha Yom discussion, Daf HaShavua, Mishnah Berurah Yomi, you could sign up over here. And very importantly, on the top right, you could subscribe to receive the Divrei Torah every week that I'm going to show you right now. While we're here, I want to show you something very important. You go to news, and I want to let everyone know, Be'ez Hashem, in the beginning of July, we're going on a trip to Kivrei Tzadikim. We're going to, so if you want more information, so you click here, you read more, and we're going to the Kfarim, we're starting by the Chassam Sofer, going to Kerastir, Mad, the Yismach Moshe, we're going to Munkach, the Minchas Alazar, we're going to the Mekubal of Kalamaya, Rav Hillel Kalamaya, we're going to Rav Tzihar Shav Zidichav, and the Taz, Navardik, Aruch HaShulchan, the Lavush, going to the Chafetz Chaim, and Reb Chaim Volozhiner. So if you want to see the itinerary, you could click over here, and the whole itinerary is available. You could read when we're leaving, when we're coming back. We have a really very nice group going so far, and it will be an honor to have you. Okay, so here's how to sign up for the weekly Divrei Torah. You click on the top right, subscribe, and you will receive the weekly emails. And on Friday, you will receive 2 sets of Divrei Torah. One, the Divrei Torah in English, it's called Elevate Your Table. 3 Divrei Torah for the 3 Shabbos Sudos. And you could also receive Likutei Ben Ma'ashri, Divrei Torah and the Parsha of the Tzaddik of Ranana. So, first I want to take you to Elevate Your Shabbos Table. Here, you click over here, read and print, and you have the entire archive in alphabetical order. I want to thank my friend Rav Mordechai Levitan for putting together this Parsha sheet, together with Team Levitan, and I want to thank the graphic designer and editor as well. We thank you for your very great contributions, and I want this is available on the website. So if you don't want to look at your email, you go to Parsha Shelach, you click over here, and you have 3 Divrei Torah. Do you see it? Are you seeing these Divrei Torah over here? Okay, so we're going to go through it very quickly. The Gra elucidates the Zayar. The Zayar teaches us, it's the Zayar in Chelak Gimel, Tachazi kama averahu lishon abisha. Look how terrible Lashon Hara is. Gazar alavasana. It was decreed on our forefathers. The lo yeol ara, that they should not go into Eretz Yisrael. Umisu inun da amri, and the ones who spoke died. Vizgazar b'chaya l'dare daran, and it was decreed crying for all generations. So we see the disastrous effects of Lashon Hara, that it was decreed they would not enter the land, and the ones who spoke it caused crying for all generations. Now the Gra, which is cited in the Sefer Talei Oros. So if you go to Rebbe Ephraim's screen, you have in his background 4 very nice svarim. Thank you very much. You also have the beautiful set, Talei Oros. Talei Oros on this week's Parsha, actually, not in that edition, there's another 5 volumes called Talei Oros Shnayim Mikra, that quotes the Gra, who explains, the Gemara tells us that Lashon Hara kills 3 people: the speaker, the listener, and the subject of the conversation. So in this case also, the speakers of the Lashon Hara, they died in a plague. Those who received and accepted the Lashon Hara died in the desert. And interestingly, the subject of Lashon Hara, namely Eretz Yisrael, was also destroyed, like the pasuk says, "V'hoisa artzachem shmama." The land of Israel remained desolate. So here we see there were severe repercussions of Lashon Hara listed in the Gemara for the speaker, for the acceptor, and for the subject. So here also, Eretz Yisrael itself was destroyed because Eretz Yisrael became the subject of Lashon Hara. Now here's another one of my favorites. There are two terms used to describe spies. One is tarim, Taurus, lasur, v'yasuru, and meraglim. Now, the Sefer Aksava HaKabbalah of Rabbi Yaakov Mecklenburg, he says there's a fine difference between what Hashem and Moshe intended and Klal Yisrael did. In Devarim, the pasuk says, "Vayifnu vayalu hara vayivanach eska vayiraglu oisa." They were meraglim; they spied it out. However, lasur v'yasuru does not mean to spy out. Lasur means to look at the good qualities, to see the positive of what you're inspecting. But the word meragel comes from the word leragel, to see the deficiencies. Like when Yosef accused his brothers, meraglim atem. Hashem and Moshe said you should be lasur, to see the positive, and instead the meraglim, so to speak, substituted that job with the job that brought great disaster, namely instead of being tarim, they were meraglim. Okay, and finally, this is mamish my favorite, the trup on the names of the meraglim. Yeah, the trup on the names of the meraglim. So, by all of the shvatim, v'yela shemoisam, Lematei Ruvain Shamua ben Zakor, Lematei Shimon Shafa ben Chayri, Lematei. And by one shevet, instead of a zakef katan, which is a very significant pause, by one shevet, it's Lematei Ephraim Hoshea Benon. There's just a tibcha. So Ephraim, today's your day. By Ephraim, there's not such a strong pause between the name of the shevet and the spy. By all the other shvatim, there's a very decisive pause. There's a zakef katan. By Ephraim, there is a tibcha. So in 11 of the 12 psukim, there's a zakef katan, which indicates a psik. And the one exception is by Yehoshua, where there's a more minor trumpet tibcha. Why is that? That all the shvatim were rooted in their shevet. However, because the meraglim veered off the straight and the narrow, they caused the separation between them and their shoyresh, their root. Namely, they caused a separation between them and the shevet they come from. However, Yehoshua, he remained connected to his shevet, which is the source of his kayach, and that's why by shevet Yosef, it said by Hoshea Benun, it was only a tibcha. Lematei Ephraim Hoshea Benun, as opposed to the other shvatim, there is a zakef katan. So those are the 3 Divrei Torah for this week. If you want to actually receive it hard copy, I showed you how to subscribe. Now I'm going to take you to how to get the Ben La'ashri on the Parsha. It's here on the site, as you saw. And the reason I'm doing this is I've been announcing it for quite a while. And people sign up here and there. And after last week's shiur, when we did it on the site together, there were a few dozen people who signed up right away. So people just need to basically see firsthand how to do this. So again, you scroll down, Likutei Ben La'ashri, you go to read and print, and you have the archive of all the different parshios in alphabetical order. And we're going to go to this week is already here. You go to Shelach, and I'm going to share with you 2 Divrei Torah from Parsha Shelach. If you want to hear the whole sheet, elucidated, explicated, you have to go to the All Parsha site or the All Parsha app, where every week there's a shiur in Likutei Ben La'ashri. For today, I'm going to share with you 2 interesting Divrei Torah from Parshas Shelach, from the Ben La'ashri. Okay, we're going to discuss this pasuk of Lamate Yosef, Lamate Menashe. Now, interestingly, the Arizal teaches us that by Menashe, Menashe, it says Lamate Yosef, Lamate Menashe. And the reason is that Arizal reveals a startling fact that the Meraglim were Nisaber in the Neshamas of the Shvatim. Meaning Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, all the Shvatim were Nisaber, it's some kind of Gilgal, their souls attached to the various Meraglim. However, by Yehoshua ben Nun, Yosef did not attach himself, because Yosef attached himself to the Meragel of Shevet Menashe. But to Yehoshua ben Nun, Yehoshua did not have a Shevet. So Moshe added the letter Yud to his name. What was Moshe Rabbeinu doing by adding the letter Yud? The letter Yud is spelled Yud Vav Daled. Now, there are 4 letters in Hebrew that are interchangeable. The Daled, the Tes, the Lamed, the Nun, and the Taf. These 5 letters are interchangeable. So basically, by adding a Yud to the name of Yehoshua, Yud is spelled Yud Vav Daled. The Daled could be changed with a Lamed. If you exchange the Daled with a Lamed, you get Levi. So Levi at first did not join any of the Meraglim. But Yehoshua was, so to speak, up the creek without a paddle, because he didn't have any of the Shvatim accompanying him. So Moshe added the letter Yud. The letter Yud represents Levi, because the Daled could be exchanged with a Lamed, and it spells Levi. The Ben Lashri says in the next piece, that is why when Yehoshua spied out the land of Israel, he only sent a spy from Levi and from Yehuda, Kalev and Pinchas, because he saw from experience that these were the only 2 Shvatim that their respective Meragel remained true and faithful to the Torah when they were spying out the land of Israel. Okay, I want to share with you one final offering on the Ben La'ashri, and then we're going to go to the Bir Tefillah. So this is the 7th piece over here, on the pasuk V'atisa kol ha'ida vayitnu es koilai vayivku ha'am b'layla hahu. And the Ben La'ashri is bothered by the fact that the pasuk says V'atisa kol ha'ida, the whole Eda lifted up their voice, vayitnu es koilam. So the Ben La'ashri feels the word vayitnu is extra. It could say V'atisa kol ha'ida es koilam. What's V'atisa kol ha'ida vayitnu es koilam? Vayivku ha'am b'layla hahu. So the Ben La'ashri also feels, why at first is it called ha'eda and then ha'am? Ha'eda, just say Vatisa kol ha'eda vayinu es koilam vayivku b'layla hahu. Why first ha'eda and then ha'am? Now the Gemara says ha'eda refers to the Sanhedrin. Well, what's the meaning of that? Why did the Sanhedrin cry for what occurred? So the Ben La'ashri says something very interesting. We know, famously, Hakoil kol Yaakov v'hayadayim yidei Esav. The voice is the voice of Yaakov, and the hands are the hands of Esav. And Chazal darshan that when the voice of Yaakov chirps in the Beis HaMedrash, the hands of Esav are not shoyleit. So that there's an idea that when we learn Torah, the hands of Esav are not shoyleit. So the Ben La'ashri asks, okay, but Esav was still blessed with the blessing of the sword. So if he's blessed with the blessing of the sword, he doesn't need hands, he has a sword. Oh, says the Ben La'ashri, not only do you need a hand, you need 2 hands. Because, firstly, you need a hand to hold the sword. If you don't have a hand, you don't have a sword. But even if you do have a hand, the sword needs a handle, because a hand cannot hold a sharp blade. If a hand holds a sharp blade, the hand will get cut. So for Esav to be successful in attacking the Jewish people, he needs a hand, and the sword needs a handle. Esav needs 2 yadayim. So when the koil of Yaakov is heard, ein hayadayim yidei Esav, the hands of Esav are nullified. A hand to hold the sword, and a handle of the sword. Now, hand plus hand, yad plus yad equals koyach. What does koyach mean? Koyach means the 2 hands. Hashem oiz la'amo yitein. Hashem yivarech es amoy v'ashalem. When Hashem gives us strength, we take the hands of Esav. We take his hand to hold the sword, and we take away the handle of his sword. For example, when Amalek came, it says, Vayavai Amalek, Vayilachem im Yisrael berfidim. Amalek came and he battled with the Jewish people in Refidim. Chazal Darshan, why did Amalek come? Because we weakened our hands from Torah. Rafu Yideyam min Torah. The question is, what does the fact that our hands are weak have to do with learning Torah? What does hands have to do with it? Says the Ben Lashri very simply, that when Klal Yisrael learned Torah, then we strengthen our hands, we take away the hands of Esav. But when we weaken in Torah, then the hands are given back to Esav. Esav has one hand to hold the sword, and he has a handle of the sword. So we read the pasuk like this: Vatisa kol ha'eda. The Eda refers to the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin lifted up their themselves. They were elevated. They, so to speak, raised themselves away from Klal Yisrael. They didn't teach us enough. Once it was Vatisa kol ha'eda, vayitnu es koilam, our Kol Yaakov was taken away from us. This is how you read the pasuk, Vatisa kol ha'eda, when the Sanhedrin were elevated away from us, then vayitnu es koilam, their voice was taken away. Okay, Marv Rabbi say, that concludes the segment of these 5 Divrei Torah. We have 3 in English, 2 in Lashon HaKodesh. You know how to get it. Merely go to the site and subscribe, and it will automatically be sent to you. Okay, we're going to start momentarily our presentation on Siddur. Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.